Hey guys, OG Albina here, bringing you guys our BBR Season 5 Week 5 Team Builder against Emil and his Montreal Scroopies. Yes, we're doing a Team Builder separate video. I got some feedback and a lot of people said they'd like to see a little bit more of an in-depth Team Builder, so I figured I would give you guys that, plus a mock analysis. If you guys don't know what mocks are, they're mock battles that you run before the game with friends. I have a front office that you can join in the description below, my personal server, and I run my front office out of there, so if you want to help us out for these BBR games and provide prep insight or mock support, you're always welcome to join there and grab the roles. But basically a mock battle is me going up against someone who brings what they think Jaber or Emil will bring. We'll try and battle it out, and it helps you see weaknesses in your team and your play and your philosophy. I am a big mock advocate. I do tons of mocks every single week, and I'm only going to be showing you a select few of them. I am showing you guys bits and pieces of 7 different mocks today, so there's going to be a lot of talking today. If you guys do enjoy today's Team Builder and mock analysis, be sure to drop a like on the video, as well as subscribe to the channel. We're on our way to 3,000 subs, and I appreciate if you help me out. And of course, stick around, because the battle will be going up tomorrow around this time. But, yeah, with that being said, really quick, before we jump into the actual sets really quick, because I'm going to show you guys the sets, and then I'll show you guys some mock analysis and the important things I took away. I had to give a huge shout out to Lacanus. Last week, if you guys didn't check out our video, it was a gut-wrencher. It really stung to lose that way, and I was pretty disappointed in myself. That night, I hadn't started looking at my matchup just yet, but my boy Lacanus in my front office, he hit me up, he said, "Hey, you got some time, bro?" And I said, I mean, yeah, sure, I got some time, what's up? And he goes, Peep DMs, I got something for you. And typically I like to build my own teams and I like to adjust them from there. But Lacanus pulled up with the PDF spreadsheet PowerPoint here for my matchup. And again, like I said, I like to build my own teams typically. I'm going to scroll through it slowly. I like to build my own teams typically. There's a little bit of a messed up picture right here, but we'll talk about that in a second. But this was so well thought out, and there was so much effort put behind this, I actually had to test with this team. There was no way I wasn't. And it looked very structurally found. I wasn't just doing it to be nice. This team was very, very well built, and I'll be honest, throughout the mocks, I very little changed, you know, the set that I had, and EV. I think I achieved EVs on one Pokemon. This team functioned phenomenally in mocks and things like that. The only thing I changed was big Spite Ups here. I changed his EVs just a little bit, but again, other than that, this was phenomenal. Not only did it have complete, you know, notes and preparation, things like that for the whole squad, it also had calcs at the bottom for each Pokemon. It even had the range in which Dragonite needs for acrobatics to kill. Even a game plan, lead options, what we think he might lead, what we think he might bring, a bunch of things like that. Like, this was incredibly well thought out from Lacanus, so I want to give a huge shout out to him. It was absolutely wonderful. I really do appreciate you helping me out like this a ton. And again, I like to build my own teams, and next week, spoilers, I have already built like the first rush draft for that and already been testing and stuff like that. And do it again next week. But yeah, again, big shout out to Lacanus. It was really incredible, and he built a great team. So we can go ahead and start off by talking about our team, which at the top of the screen consists of Great Tusk, Iron Moth, which is Tera Fire and Water, Rotom Wash, Screen Tail, Fortress, Hydreigon, Talonflame, Gothitelle, Breloom, Ursaring, and Big Spidops. While our opponent's team is at the bottom of the screen, and it consists of Dragonite, which is Tera Flying and Normal, Scizor, Zora Kasui, Tauros, Paldea Water, Florges, Rotom Fan, Toedscruel, Skuntank, Armarouge, Ice-Q, and Lechonk. Now, biggest threats to my team. One is going to be that Dragonite, whether it be physical, special, mixed. There's so many different things this thing can do against me. I think Choice Band is incredibly scary. It catches my Fortress with one Fire Punch. Things are looking tough. DD E-Speed Facade also terrifies me. Special sets with Tera Flying can get very overwhelming, very fast. It's a Dragonite, it's a Terramon, it's arguably the best Tera Pokemon in the format, so we're gonna have to be very careful in order to creative build it like Emil. Scizor, I'm actually not too worried about. Zora Kasui is one I am worried about. I don't have great switch-ins to its Dual Steps plus Focus Blast. It can really just 2-hit KO or OHKO my whole team with just a little bit of chip. Tauros is also very annoying for me to switch into because it chips down my Dragonite checks. That's not great for me. Rotom Fan is the one thing stopping him from losing to the combination of Scarf, Great Tusk, and bulk up Talonflame, so we got to deal with that accordingly. But other than that, I actually really like my matchup this week. So we'll go ahead and jump into the first mon, which is going to be Choice Scarf Great Tusk with Close Combat, Headlong Rush, Knockoff, and Ice Spinner. EVs wise, you got Max Attack, 56 per def, and 200 speed with a Jolly Nature. I believe this is outspeeding just max speed Dragonite. This Pokemon's a pretty incredible revenge killer. Between Close Combat and Ice Spinner, depending on what he tears into, I do have a revenge killer for a +1 Dragonite, provided it loses its multi-scale and things like that, which is going to be pretty incredible. And honestly, it's a really solid endgame win con revenge killer. His ground resist is something like Toadscroll, which doesn't appreciate CC. Rotom Fan was a pretty tough pickup for me to see him grab. He used to have Iron Thorns right before our game, and if that was the case, this thing was pretty darn incredible. Now Rotom doesn't have Pain Split this gen, so if I can catch that thing with an Ice Spinner, it's pretty tough for him to kind of bounce back from that. We're not bringing rocks this week though, so we're gonna have to focus solely on getting off damage, but as a revenge killer, this Pokemon is pretty darn incredible, and of course, it's here for the Lechonk. Now, next up, we have our Iron Moth, which is going to be a phenomenal breaker this week with Booster Energy, Fire Blast, Sludge Wave, Acid Spray, and Energy Ball. We are Tera Fire this week, max speed, max special attack, force for defense. We are here just trying to creep that Zoroark. If we can win a speed tie against that thing, that's phenomenal. If you look at his team, and you look at this Pokemon with a Tera Fire up, there is nothing that beats it. With the Booster Energy, we 2-hit KO things like Armarouge very easy. The only thing that I saw somewhat switching into me was like an Assault Vest Tauros Paldea, because it could take one, force me out with an Aqua Jet, which if that does come in and it does live a hit, that's completely fine. I'm okay with losing my Booster Energy because I can still come in and use this thing later. If you look at Amel's team, he actually does not have Stealth Rocks. So other than Spikes, there's not really a way that's going to be super wearing me down. You're going to see that's really going to help out my team this week. Not having to run boots on anything is really incredible in a draft league setting. So no rocks are hopefully going to be exploited this game with the Booster Energy. Tera Fire, Fire Blast can just like 2-hit KO everything. Acid Spray is mostly to stop that Dragonite from setting up. If it tries to DD in my face, it typically would live like Sludge Wave into Sludge Wave with a multi-scale intact, but Acid Spray into Sludge Wave should always knock that thing out pretty freely, so we can force him into an attack and kind of deal with it from there. But again, it also just kind of wears down other fat things, like something like a Skuntank. A Sylvester Skuntank takes the Acid Spray and then gets rocked by Fire Blast, so that's obviously very solid, and this Pokemon is looking to just kind of click buttons and kill things this game if we use it correctly. Next up, we got Spidops, the return of Spidops, rocking out the Rocky Helmet, Insomnia as its ability, Sticky Web, Toxic Spikes, Memento, and U-Turn, 248 HP, 96 defense, and 164 super def with a relaxed nature. Now, it is coming. Now, I know it's really weird to see it into Scizor, Toadscroll. Two removers, right? First off, Scizor. I think if Scizor comes, it's forced to be offensive. I think fat, bulky Defog Scizor is very bad and passive into me. So I really don't expect Defog Scizor to come into this matchup in particular. As for Toadscroll, Toadscroll can be spin, but I actually always beat Toadscroll. You might be thinking, well, Mycelium Might is going to let him spore you despite your Insomnia. You'd be right, he does get off the spore, but the way the interaction works in the battle is that I get put to sleep, and then Insomnia also activates because it doesn't only stop you from being put to sleep, it wakes you up if you have the ability and are put to sleep. So if you get like skill swap or something like that. But the way it works here, Mycelium Might lets me put me to sleep. I then wake up from the spore immediately after, so I don't have to deal with that. T-Spikes are great if Skuntank doesn't come to poison things like the Florges, Tauros, Zoroark, Armarouge, the Dragonite once it tears if it's not boots into Tera Normal. But honestly, it's here to kind of just click Sticky Web and you turn around and get a little bit of momentum. The reason that we are relaxed in this matchup, as funny as it sounds, we are relaxed min speed so that we can guaranteed underspeed a Lechonk. I am prepping for Lechonk. Amel told me earlier this week he was acting a little feisty because I made fun of him for dropping the Iron Thorns to pick up Rotom Fan to C-team me. He told me and swears that he is bringing Lechonk this week. So I want to have something that can pivot into it without really having to worry about getting body slammed or yawned and put to sleep. And this ensures that I always switch in, get a little bit of chip with Rocky Helmet if he wants to attack me, and then I just got to click U-turn afterwards, get out into something slow, Great Tusk, Iron Moth, Talonflame, and just click a button. So we're hoping that's what ends up happening here in this game. Next up, we have our Hydreigon, rocking out with an Assault Vest, Draco Meteor, Flamethrower, Dark Pulse, and U-Turn. Got 216 HP, 220 for def, and 72 speed with a Jolly Nature. Pretty interesting set we're rocking out with this week. We are Assault Vest. Why are we Assault Vest? Zoroark Kazooie. That is it. We absolutely eat up Focus Blast from non-boosted Zoroark. Very well. And it's going to be a great stop to that thing. Armarouge is also a very good check to that. If you look at the team I have so far, I don't really like Fire plus Psychic right now, so Hydreigon's going to be able to check those two very well. And honestly, even without any investment, this thing can be pretty darn threatening if that Florges is either chipped or gone between Draco, Flamethrower, and Dark Pulse. But realistically, it's here to pivot into that Zoroark U-turn around once I find out what the Zoroark is. And same thing for Armarouge. Armarouge really can't touch me too hard, so yeah, we should be all good to go with big Hydreigon here. Then we have big Rotom Wash. We are Fizdef with a Chalon Berry, Foul Play, Will-O-Wisp, Volt Switch, and Hydro Pump. What is a Chalon Berry? Chalon Berry is the type resisting berry, like Akka or Shuka for fire and ground respectively, but for normal. This allowing us to really take +1 E-Speed into +1 E-Speed very, very easily, and really threaten that Dragonite with a Foul Play if it's trying to boost its attack. Now, why not just Will-O-Wisp it? Well, I think Amel's probably going to have Facade on this set. If he's DD Terra Normal Facade, things are going to look very tough for me. So I'd much rather just spam Foul Play, keep it low, and put it in range of something else in my team. He won't be able to continuously DD on me either because of the fact that he is taking Foul Play, and the more he DDs up, the more damage he takes, which obviously isn't good for him. This also checks Scizor very well. It also takes Tauros very well, but we have to be careful about how much we really want to use it for Tauros, and kind of really keep in the back for Dragonite until we know what the Dragonite set is. Now, if it reveals to be like a special D-Knight, we can use Rotom a little bit more liberally for the other physical threats on the team, and things like that. Then, lastly, probably our best win con and our best safety blanket against his team is Acrobatics, no item, Talonflame, also rocking Will-O-Wisp, Bulk Up, and Roost, max attack, max speed with 4 defense, with an adamant nature. Look at Amel's team and tell me his Flying Ray assist. It is just the Rotom with no recovery. We can wish that thing, we can chip it down with Acrobatics, we have our Great Tusk that's going to force it in. Once that is gone, this Pokemon quite literally wins the game. Plus, the fact that I don't have to run heavy-duty boots in this game is incredible, because I get to keep my Gale Wings until I want to get rid of them and click Acrobatics on something. That is absolutely incredible. Plus, I don't have to be Brave Bird. I can be Acrobatics and get that max power Acrobatics and have a no drawback base 110 power move, and then I start bulking up, and then I start wisping things, and then I start roosting, and then I Acrobatics and Acrobatics and Acrobatics. This Pokemon is really darn good in this matchup. It's also a very good revenge killer to a lot of the scary things on Amel's team, so we're just gonna have to be careful with how we're, using it and things like that. But, yeah, that is going to be the team. I'll be right back with the mock analysis. Alrighty, so we're here with the mock analysis. Like I said, I'm not gonna show you every single one of these mocks in their entirety, or this would be a 17-hour-long video. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you select parts of the battle, and what I think I'm doing incorrectly, and things that I'm realizing as I'm playing. So this first one's against Brody, aka Odds Are, my buddy. We're gonna go ahead and jump into it, and I'm gonna slowly take you guys through the things that I'm realizing when I'm realizing them. So in these first couple mocks, we lead off with Spite-Ups. It ends up working out great here because we have a Toad-Scroll lead. He actually ends up staying in, which is pretty interesting. We're able to get off a U-turn. Things are going swimmingly at the moment. We go Rotom right here. And I feel like I do have a pretty free Will-O-Wisp here. Now, again, in hindsight, Willow probably isn't my play here. I'm going to see his DD Facade. Doesn't seem like a great idea. No, Brody doesn't seem like he was. So, on all honesty, it's probably fine at this point. We're going to go ahead and get a burn off on this Toad-Scroll. He's -1 speed. We'll see if he likes to go for a spin. Nope, he just Giga Drains, which is, again, a free U-turn. So, Spite-Up's already putting in work in the first mock here. Florges is going to come out pretty early, as I do end up getting off my Spike here, and I'm going to go hard Talonflame. Now, this is kind of a bit tough right here, because going into this thing, I lose my Gale Wings really early, which makes things like that Dragonite, like that Tauros with his Aqua Jet, a little bit tougher for me to deal with in the end game. As we're going to kind of see throughout this game, I end up clicking Bulk Up right here, but the Ice Cube comes out, I Wisp it, but it's a special Ice Cube, so I basically just throw away my Talonflame for no reason, in all honesty. Now, I end up winning this mock, but it gets really, really iffy into that Dragonite a little bit later on, as you'll see. My, it's doing pretty well. It's a special D-Knight, which is fine. I go into this, click Ice Spinner, able to go into Moth. Moth puts in the utmost of work in this game, which is obviously great. So does Hydra, but again, a very, very close one. And I think that losing that Acrobatics on my Talonflame for a lot of this team was pretty tough. I kind of just threw it away very early, and if it was a DD Knight, things could have gotten pretty tough pretty fast. Now, second mock, we're up against Dell, D-Double, another coach in the league. So we're going up against multiple coaches in the BBR for these mocks, which is pretty darn cool. We can go ahead and jump into this one. For the first one, I kind of realized here that Spidops lead really isn't great, because outside of like a Toad Scroll lead, it leads terrible into just about everything else, and it kind of puts me on the back foot immediately. I do have a pivot into this Armarouge, which is nice, but again, I'm still put in a pretty tough spot in general. The game's going to continue on right here, where you turn out, we get into our Moth, which is awesome. I feel like I have a pretty darn free Fire Blast here. I end up missing, which is really unfortunate, because this thing gets to stay at full, but nothing we can't deal with. I would have loved that chip on that floor just though. Right here, I am going to take this Raging Bull, I believe get out my Sticky Web, and right here, this is a bit of an unnecessary play. It ends up working out right here because he is DD, but I still have my Rotom at full. There's no reason for me to risk my Spidops right here just dying, because I can still get up webs later. It's also Rocky Helmet, pivot into the Tauros, and to sack potentially later as well. Going for a U-turn right here and risking this thing to die isn't really worth it when I have my Rotom Wash still in the back, so I don't know. It really wasn't worth it right here. It ends up working out great, but not really how I wanted to do things. You're going to see the Chalonberry pop off right here. I'm just going to kind of play the rest of this in the background right here. Moth is able to, you know, come in, just kind of click a button here. I do have that Spidops sack in the back, and you see it takes 2 turns of Helmet off on that Bull, which is awesome. We're able to just kind of come in, click buttons with our Moth, do the dang thing. Zoroark comes in, find out it's that. I guess I probably could have realized that by the boots, but I don't know, because I hadn't seen the Armarouge item yet. But this, we're also going to see, I kind of want to show off really quick why I showed the rest of this game. Talonflame really pops off in this endgame, and it shows how well this thing can do. So yeah, it just kind of sits here, it clicks Acro and Roosts and kills everything, which is awesome. So yeah, basically from that one, we want to take away that I didn't need a U-turn there. If I have Rotom at full health, there's no reason for me to play aggressively to call a DD and chip it down, when realistically the D-Knight can just attack, and it doesn't really have the opportunity to sweep me just yet when my Rotom's at full. Now, if Rotom wasn't at full, maybe that play gets a little bit iffier and, you know, a little bit weirder. So yeah, that being said, this next mock, pretty simple one. The main thing I wanted to highlight was this turn 2 right here. We do lead Spidops again. I still hadn't changed the Spidops lead, and you're going to see soon we end up getting there. Is it? I don't know if it's the next one. I can't really see right here. But not the end of the world. We're able to take 2 Raging Bulls, which is always a good thing. We get up a Sticky Web. I go hard Rotom, and this is the play I wanted to talk about. Jaybear makes a really good mid-ground right here. Goes for the CC because he didn't kill me with a Raging Bull anyways, and CC and a Raging Bull did. Caught the Rotom. I take this fine. The only issue is that my D-Knight check is now at 56%, and that makes the DD D-Knight so scary. So I need to be very careful about how I deal with early game Tauros, and going into my Rotom might not be the play. Realistically, I'd rather actually just sack off Spidops and go no web, so I get a free switch into something like Rotom, get a free switch into something like the Talonflame, something of the sorts, just so I can deal with it that way. But yeah, taking that chip definitely wasn't great, and I end up kind of losing momentum right here, because I try and Volt Switch out, this thing comes out, it's going to go ahead and Rapid Spin on me. I get up my T-Spike again, get off a U-turn on this floor, just things like that. Again, this is another endgame where Talonflame absolutely popped off, as you're going to see. It sweeps in the endgame again, so Talon's functioning great. So shout out to Jaybear for this one. We actually have a couple more from Jaybear. Me and Jaybear really grinded this matchup, so I appreciate him. Next up, I think I try a new lead in this game. We try a Rotom lead, but the issue with Rotom lead is, again, I take too much chip with the D-Knight. Plus, it's a very, very free Toad Scroll, so I don't have to worry too much, or I really don't think it's the best lead in the world. Foul play, it works out great here, in all honesty, too, but in practice, the lead into D-Knight probably isn't likely. The D-Knight lead probably isn't likely, and in any other situation, I'm kind of forced out pretty darn quickly here, as the floor is just going to come in, it's going to click Calm Mind. This game, I'm forced to kind of use my talent a little bit early because of the floor just being an offensive, like, Calm Mindset. So that's a bit, unfortunately, a bit unfortunate for me to deal with, but we're able to take it out. We lose our Gale Wings in the process, though, which is obviously not good. At this point, I kind of realize how overwhelming the combination of Armarouge plus Zoroark is, and I really don't want to allow this Armarouge or Zoroark free switch-ins, because then my Hydra gets super pressured, it takes a bunch of damage on one prediction, and things are looking pretty tough for me. So I take a Hyper Voice here. Again, we see that it's Zoroark, and I'm able to get off a nice U-turn, but nonetheless, I want to be careful about how I pivot into things like Armarouge, Zoroark. I want to keep up offensive momentum this game. I want to click U-turn with my 3 Mons to get U-turn, and I want to click a button with Tusk and Moth to really break through this team fast. I value T-Spike a little bit more in this game, just so I can poison things like the Armourouge, and realistically, I kind of outspeed most things besides Zoroark anyways. I get up the webs right here. I kind of pivot around this Trick Room Armourouge a little bit aggressively, and again, I kind of realize how scary this Pokemon can be against me. Especially under Trick Room, because with that Focus Blast, yeah, he might trade it for Hydreigon, but then my Hydreigon dies to a Hyper Voice, so I can't really pivot around this thing very well. I'm able to get off the Memento with big Spidops here, and this is going to help me deal with this thing a ton. Obviously now it does not do much to me in the slightest. I'm able to get off a U-turn, kind of deal with things accordingly, which is great. Let me go ahead and look at my notes. Okay, next thing and last thing is at turn 25, so we can kind of continue to go throughout this guy, as the Talonflame is going to come in pretty free on this Toedscruel, which is obviously nice. It looks like it wasn't a, what do you call it, set either. But regardless, okay, turn, let's say 24. So we see that this is a Hisuian. There we go. We U-turn, knock. Is this the wrong mock, or is that the next one? Yeah, I think that's it. Okay, I was wrong. I think that's wrong. Okay, cool. Next up, we have one more from J-Bear. This is a game where I kind of end up finding my actual lead, and I kind of wanted to show that. This is a mock where I wanted J-Bear to bring Rotom Fan, because Rotom Fan was really obnoxious, and I wanted to play one, because nobody had brought it yet. I realized that my lead is Hydreigon. Why is my lead Hydreigon? Well, outside of this floor, I mean, realistically on everything, I get a very free U-turn off. Outside of Tauros, and the potential Dragonite, because I'm not super fast, I get a very free U-turn on everything. Now, Tauros can be a bit unfortunate, but I have my Spidops to pivot in on the fighting move, actually pretty easy. Get some helmet chip off, deal with it accordingly, right? Florges, I just U-turn out. Dragonite, I still have my Rotom at full health, and plus he might not really want to stay in on me, to be completely honest. If Toedscruel leads, I U-turn, go out into Spidops. If Armourouge or Rotom or the Zoroark all lead, I am in with my check. So we're all good here. So I really do feel like Hydreigon is going to be my best lead in this game. We see that it is a Focus Blast Zoroark in the lead spot, disguised as the Florges here. But I'm okay with that because I see that he's, you know, obviously going to hit me with that Focus Blast. I get a free switch out. And at 42, no, what do you call it, in the back either. So I can just use it solely to check that Zoroark. And I get a free switch into Moth, which is a button here. We do a good 73 to the Tauros. Now, this play I can make an aggressive Rotom because I know he's forced into an Aqua Jet, or he just dies and there's no point. So I always make that play right there. And then, other than that, I kind of realize in this game how obnoxious it is for me to pivot around Rotom Fan. You're going to see, this is max Fizz Def. I'm max attack Tusk. I only do 43 with Ice Spinner, which is terrible. Really, really not good for me. So I'm able to get into my mouth, click a button, I click Acid Spray on this turn. We see that it's physical right there. Again, all good things though that we're realizing. My Ice Spinners are going to beat it. Still have our acrobatics here, and you see I have to pivot around that thing so peculiarly. I don't want to take the Air Slash chip because I still need it for Zoro. I don't want to do a lot of things, to be completely honest. So again, got to be very careful about how we deal with this thing. Talonflame is going to go down checking that Florges, which is great because now we're able to kind of put ourselves in a good position to click a button with Hydreigon, and lock Ice Spinner with Tusk and beat him right here. We had to dodge a crit, but that's kind of what the Rotom was doing to me in a lot of these mocks. Gotta be very careful about it. It can be absolutely obnoxious. Next up, we have our mock against Bick, number 6 of 7, right here. And you can see he brought a little bit of a fatter build. We see things like Skuntank, we see things like Ice Cube, things that Iron Moth in particular absolutely eats up. So we're gonna go ahead and jump into this one. Now, we're going to go ahead and beam with our Hydreigon. We U-turn out, force out the Armourouge / Zoroark, get into our Great Tusk, and this is going to allow me a pretty free knockoff, and I like this sequence a lot, allowing me to kind of scout and see what items are, deal with them accordingly, and deal with him being a bit of a nuisance here. This turn, I do kind of realize he is Hurricane and Special. That would have bounced off, to be completely honest, but I do kind of realize that if I'm in this position, right, I know it's Tera Flying and I know it's Special, into my Rotom, I have a pretty darn free double into my Spidops, expecting that Toedscruel to come out, allowing me to snag a little bit more momentum a little bit quicker. I'm able to get up this T-Spike right here, or this Sticky Web right here, in order to deal with them accordingly. I U-turn, and I'm faster, which shows me he clicks some kind of status move. I don't think he clicks Spore, because of my Insomnia. So in my head, he's probably clicking spikes. He's definitely not clicking an attacking move, so as long as it's not Spore, I'm good. And even if it is, I feel like this is my least useful member. I do click Ice Spinner, and even through Yachi, we're able to knock it out there. And then other than that, it's kind of just Acid Spray Moth going absolutely crazy in this game. As you see, Fire Blast is going to catch this thing being Flash Fire. It is a dual screen set, which is completely fine with me. I'm able to get out, break a little bit of a Ice Face. Again, just be a general nuisance getting a Moth. And you see right here, the Acid Spray set goes absolutely buck wild in this game. He really does not have good pivots into this in the slightest, as it does just basically clean up from this point. There's not much that he can do to stop us. So Moth is able to pick up a nice 6-0 victory in this mock, which is awesome. But I kind of realized that double in that sequence is pretty nice, and I see how good Moth can be if I position it into his fat very well. And lastly, we have a mock against Kirby. I ran a couple other mocks against Lechonk. I kind of forced people to bring them because Amel swears it's coming. So again, be sure to watch the video tomorrow because we're playing a Lechonk in Draft League, and I don't want to get Lechonk. So you got to be very careful about it. But Kirby brings a pretty cool team here, despite being forced to Lechonk. And that's kind of the good thing about Lechonk coming, is it means something else scary is on the bench. No Tauros in this instance, and no Tauros is really good for me. I'm really terrified of the Tauros here. Now, ready to jump into it here. I kind of look at his team and I realize how valuable T-Spike is into a lot of these fatter things, into things like Zoroark, which is a bit annoying and I like chipping it down, into things like Lechonk, Armarouge, Florges, and this team in particular isn't super affected by the webs. It's really just that Zoroark potentially, so I kind of value the T-Spike a little bit more in this game, and this game kind of shows me playing around this Endure weakness policy Armarouge a little bit, as I am going to U-turn out here, get out into my Talonflame, I believe it is, yeah. And from here, I get pivot right back out into Hydreigon. I take nothing from this. I make sure I'm not popping any weakness policies or anything like that. I'm able to continuously U-turn, chip this thing down and lower its defenses, and put it in range of my Acrobatics Talonflame. And I can kind of always pivot around play like this pretty safely if my Talonflame is at full. So it's something to keep in mind. I can always kind of deal with this thing. Other than that, I think this mock is actually pretty straightforward. We see, again, Rotom being a big nuisance, but the T-Spike is really helping. We see that my check to Lechonk does check Lechonk, which is pretty awesome. I'm able to get out of my mouth, take a Psychic pretty darn well, to be completely honest, and kind of pivot around this thing pretty darn well. I see the Zoroark get poisoned, take a foul play, sack off the Spidops, go back into our Rotom, double out. Again, all these things are going very, very well. As we do flinch into Draco again. Now we can just U-turn because we don't have to worry about, keeping that thing alive. And we're able to kind of clean this up with a combination of foul play plus spinner, or plus CC. But yeah, that's going to be the mock analysis. Let me know what you guys think about this kind of style and just flashing these up on the screen and talking about the more important ones and things like that. I know it showed me winning all the time, but I actually didn't lose any mocks this week, which shows how sound the build is, or at least is a good sign of how sound the build is. It's not going to be every time, not going to just show me winning the mocks. I lose a lot of mocks typically, so I did want to show this one off though, or these mocks off, because I felt like they had the biggest takeaways. Took about 4 or 5 other mocks beyond this, so shouts to everybody who gave me a mock that I didn't show off. Things like people like Talmaster J helped me out. What's his name? I'm terrible with names. He's a new person in the front office, so I'm a bit bad on the Clydes. He gave me a mock. I believe Sandan might have gave me a mock as well. A couple people really helped me out this week, so big shouts to everybody. We're going to get back on the win side of things tomorrow. Trust me, we got this. I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.